Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Muye, full-level Uzhibo, reincarnated from filthy soil Yuzhibo Yun, the strongest Yuzhibo in the late Warring States period, is known as the Ninja Realm Shura. Self-created blood inheritance limited, shock escape, capable of shattering mountains and cutting off the sea. He also established Konoha with Uchiha and Chiba. However, Yuzhibo Yun's sister Yuzhibo Cong died under the siege of the 5 great ninja villages. Yuzhibo Yun started a war to seek revenge for his sister and unify the ninja realm. After killing tens of thousands of ninja allies, killing Shikoku shadows, and seriously injuring Qian Shuzwen, he exhausted his strength and died. I thought my life would just pass like this, but in the end, the technique of rebirth from the filthy soil. In the Chinese ninja exam, Yuzhibo Yun is summoned, a generation of Shura, to recreate the ninja realm. Infinite chakra. Immortal body. Strongest shock escape. A brand new kaleidoscope writing will I. With so many buff bonuses, it's not enough not to do something big. Well, let's start with destroying the leaves first. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Ninja World Shura. Yuzhibo Yun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the Konoha Ninja exam, the venue was no longer bustling, only the sound of weapons hitting each other and the smoke of gunfire spreading all around. The exam venue has become a battlefield. Above the battlefield, the 4 purple flame formation is like a towering pillar of fire, surrounding a roof in clusters. On the roof, the 3 generations of Hokage Monkey Flying Sun Slayer are fighting against their former lover. The 3rd generation threw out several swords in their hands, and then formed a seal on both hands. Ninja technique. Sword shadow splitting technique in hand. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. A few swords in hand turned into hundreds in an instant, and at a glance, they looked like a black torrent. Regarding this, Orochimaru was completely fearless. He chuckled inwardly and pressed his hands against the ground. Spiritual communication. The art of rebirth from dirty soil. The first one. The second one. 2 coffins were raised one after another, and at this moment, Orochimaru showed a very dangerous smile. Also, the 3rd one. The 3rd coffin rises from the ground, and unlike the 2 characters, Chu, and, on the first 2 coffins, there is a prominent, cloud, written on the 3rd coffin. 3 coffins blocked all the swords in their hands, but Sandai's face became particularly solemn. As a ninja doctor, he naturally knows what kind of technique the other party is using, which is a very dangerous forbidden technique. Even teacher Kazuma did not use this technique a few times back then. Especially when the gaze shifted to the 3rd coffin, the eyes of the 3rd generation were filled with deep fear. Looking at the aging appearance of the 3 generations of heroes, Orochimaru let out a laughter that seemed both mocking and pitiful. Teacher Yunqie, you are already old. 3 generations remained silent, staring straight at the 3 coffin boards falling to the ground one by one. Immediately after, 2 figures walked out of the coffin. 1st generation eyes, 2nd generation eyes. The 3rd generation's eyes narrowed slightly, and a sense of guilt arose. At the same time, the dark forces outside also exclaimed in surprise. They are 1st generation Hokage Lord. 2nd generation Hokage Lord. Unbelievable. This spell can summon the dead. Who exactly is the 3rd coffin, the character, Cloud. The 1st generation looked at the 3rd generation and exclaimed, long time no see, monkey. You're also getting old, monkey flying. The 2nd generation was the same, and he never expected to see the 3rd generation in this way. The 3rd generation spoke with a hint of nostalgia and solemnity in their tone. I have a heart to reminisce about the past with both of you, but... As he spoke, Sendai turned his gaze to the 3rd coffin, and the two deceased also followed Sandai's gaze. At this moment, the third coffin slowly fell to the ground, making a loud sound, while a sharp figure appeared in front of everyone. He is handsome, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes. His black robe is solemn and low-key, paired with his beauty. His cold appearance will definitely captivate countless women. Just the cracks on his face added a bit of embarrassment to him. Even though I had been prepared in my heart for a long time, when the third generation saw this figure again, the terrifying memories that had been shrouded in dust for many years were once again awakened. The first generation furrowed their brows and said, "Since it's him." In the second generation Hokage's thousand-hand opening, there was also a look of great shock. He looked at Orochimaru. "Young man. Do you know who this person is? Dare to summon him casually." Orochimaru held his chin with his hand and extended his tongue to wash his face. "I won't bother you with this. I still have some knowledge of the name of the ninja world cultivator." Yuzhibo Yun opened his eyes, and the scene in front of him left him slightly stunned. But when he saw the unique cracks on the face of the first and second generations, which were unique to the rebirth of filth, he understood what had happened. Yuzhibo opened his mouth and a cold and pleasant voice came out. "Brothers of the Qianshou family, don't come safe and sound." Although the wording is quite polite, this tone sounds like a chill. The first generation's face looked a bit ugly. "Yun, I'm sorry." The second generation's expression was very cold. "Big brother, there's no need to apologize to him, after all, the naturally evil Uchiha." However, before the second generation could finish speaking, a strong sense of authority suddenly arrived. Buzz. Cheer. The pressure turned into substantial airflow, spreading towards the surroundings, and in an instant, all the bricks and tiles on the roof shattered. The chaotic airflow is intimidating the hearts of everyone on the field. Although Orochimaru still had a smiling face, beads of sweat as big as beans had already been secreted from his forehead, indicating that his inner self was not as calm as his exterior. The sacrifice this time is not very good. The power of the rebirth of the filthy earth is only 1/5 of that of the original body, but even so, this Uzhibo Yun can still burst out with such power. This is something that Orochimaru himself never thought of. The second generation's face was ugly. Although they knew they had an immortal body now, they couldn't help but move their legs backwards. This scene was captured by the darkness outside. What a powerful pressure. Even the second generation Hokage is afraid. Who the hell is this person? I haven't heard of it, but from the family tattoo at the back, it can be seen that they belong to the Uchiha clan. At this moment, an older member of the dark side spoke. This person is Yuzhibo Yun. I could tell that his voice was trembling, as if he was afraid of something. Yuzhibo Yun. Who the hell is he? The secret forces were puzzled in their hearts, as the secret forces of Kiba, they had never heard of such a strong figure in Kiba before. The older dark side began to explain, and as the words continued to appear, a person with the title of Shura gradually formed in the minds of the dark side. Yuzhibo Yun, a prominent figure who was active in the late Warring States period, earned the title of Ninja World Shura due to his extremely powerful strength. He not only earned the title of Strongest Uchiha with his excellent Sharingan and ninjutsu skills, but also developed his own blood inheritance realm called Shock Escape. I heard that as soon as the earthquake escapes, even the mountains will collapse. The sea must also be stirred by it. And his fate did not tarnish the name of Shura. Shortly after the village was built, for some unknown reason, Yuzhibo Yun suddenly went crazy and provoked the countries of the entire ninja world, claiming to unify the entire ninja world. The 5 great powers began their first 5-nation alliance, with tens of thousands of ninjas besieging one person, Uchiha Yun. Uchiha Yun, after wielding tens of thousands of weapons and chopping down 2 large mountains, exhausted his strength and died. At the end, the words of the old dark department exuded a strong sense of fear, even through the mask, everyone could feel the fear of the old dark department. The shadows around couldn't help but exclaim. Are you serious? Is there really such a strong ninja? I don't believe it anyway, third generation lord, but the strongest Hokage. I don't believe he can even defeat third generation lord. I don't think it's true either, it's like a storybook. Upon hearing these words, the old secret forces shook their heads secretly. On the field, after intimidating the second generation, Yuzhibo Yun looked at Orochimaru. Is it the filthy soil reincarnation you used? Before his death in battle, Yuzhibo Yun also fought against the rebirth of the filthy earth summoned by Kazuma. It must be said that it was indeed a tricky forbidden technique. Orochimaru tried to calm his expression as much as possible. Yes, Shura of the ninja realm, I need your power to destroy Konoha. Yuzhibo Yun tilted his head and a hint of disdain flashed in his eyes. Destroy the leaves of wood, I will naturally do it, but for you. Halfway through the conversation, Uchiha Yun stopped again. Orochimaru felt a bit scared inside, just as he was about to take out a spell to control Uchiha Yun. I saw Yuzhibo Yun suddenly lift his finger, open his mouth lightly, and spit out 2 words. Let you give it a try, the power of vibration. Chapter 2. Blood Inheritance Limit. Zhen done, Blazing Sunday. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This simple sentence blurted out, but it made all the people in the 4 purple flame formation look frightened. Orochimaru ignored facial expression management and took out a spell with a frightened expression, trying to control Uchiha Yun. However, it was already too late, and at that moment, the roof suddenly began to vibrate. Roaming and rumbling the deep roar, like the muffled thunder deep in the clouds, and this thunder is getting louder and louder now. The next second, Orochimaru felt the roof under his feet start to shake. The tiles on the roof surged and fell like waves, making a loud noise. Boom! Suddenly, the force supporting the roof seemed to disappear, and everyone felt empty under their feet. They looked down and saw that the entire building had instantly turned into ruins. Everyone followed the broken tiles and bricks, all falling to the ground together. The building was heavily smashed to the ground, and a burst of dust and smoke spread. And the 4 members of Inren were also stubborn, even without the support of the roof, they persisted in maintaining the 4 purple flame formation. After the landing of Orochimaru, knowing that he couldn't let things get out of control, he quickly took control of Uchiha Yun. Later, the first and second generations were also annihilated by Orochimaru. Cough. Amidst the smoke and dust, Sandai coughed a few times. He spun the diamond rui stick at high speed, and a strong wind suddenly rose, blowing away all the smoke and dust around him. Holding the diamond rui stick, the 3rd generation looked at Orochimaru. Orochimaru, not only did you play with the deceased, but you also summoned dangerous characters like Yuzhibo Yun. You are now too crazy. I advise you to untie the filth and reincarnate quickly. Teacher Monkey Flying, it's because of your short-sightedness that Kiba's current situation is caused, said Orochimaru with a sympathetic smile. Subsequently, his thoughts began to drive and he took control of Uzhibo Cloud. Let the Shura of the ninja realm wash away this decaying village. Let the windmill spin again. When he began to take control, Orochimaru discovered a surprising fact that surprised him. That is, his control over Yuzhibo Yun is not comprehensive. Even the talisman just now, not even the deity of Yuzhibo Yun has been erased. At this moment, Yuzhibo Yun spoke. Are you surprised? It seems that you are not as smart as I imagined, young man. Yuzhibo Yun's tone carried a faint mockery. Orochimaru was said to be not smart for the first time, which made him a bit angry, but he still maintained a smile on his face. He. Old man, don't forget, you're just my puppet, I'm your master. Go ahead. Subsequently, regardless of what Yuzhibo Yun wanted to say, he controlled Yuzhibo Yun and charged towards the 3rd generation. 3 generations were like facing a great enemy, his hand tightly gripping the diamond rui stick, and his palm surprisingly secreted sweat in a rare way. Who? The black figure leaped forward like an eagle descending from the sky, rushing towards the third generation. With a high and powerful kick, the third generation lifted the diamond rui stick horizontally and welcomed it forward. Bang! A dull sound rang out, and without a single blow, Yuzhibo Yun's figure flexibly crouched down and attacked the lower abdomen of the third generation. The third generation quickly blocked and counterattacked, unleashing their calm and mature physical skills. The two quickly joined forces. Although Yuzhibo Yun has greater strength and faster speed, under the garbage control of Orochimaru, he unexpectedly became evenly matched with the third generation for a while. Young man, your control is very poor. It seems that your physical skills are not very good, said Uzhibo as he glanced at the Snake Maru. Upon hearing Yuzhibo Yun's sarcastic remarks again, Orochimaru remained silent and continued to manipulate Yuzhibo Yun to attack the third generation. Sandai spat out a pile of ash and then leaped forward, distancing himself from Yuzhibo Yun. Next, transfer chakra onto the Rui stick and shout loudly, big. The Rui stick suddenly thickened, then extended again and collided with Yuzhibo Yun. Sandai is very confident in this move because he once used it to forcefully push Jiawei outside the village. You can handle tail beasts like this now. Using this move to deal with people is probably more effective, even if the opponent is Yuzhibo Yun. Who? The attack had not yet arrived, but the strong wind from the diamond Rui stick had already blown Yuzhibo Yun's hair flying. However, Yuzhibo Yun's face was extremely calm, as if it was just an ordinary sword in his hand. He calmly extended his fist. Boom! The speeding Rui stick suddenly stopped, as if it had hit some copper wall and iron wall, unable to go any further. The huge impact feedback on the third generation caused his face to look grim. What's going on? One eye peeked out on the Rui stick and said, ape flying. That guy caught the Rui stick hard. The third generation was so surprised that they couldn't speak, their eyes wide open. The dark outside were also shocked, their eyes following the long stick and falling on the top of the diamond Rui stick. I saw the man with the nickname, Shura, posing and extending his fist. The fist, in front of the huge Rui stick, appeared so petite and powerless. But it was this kind of fist that forcefully caught this powerful and heavy blow. Through the mask, one can see that the dark forces have widened their eyes, many of whom have experienced the Nine Tails Rebellion 12 years ago. The scene of 3 generations of Hokage flying 9 tails with one stick is vividly remembered, but the equally fierce blow was easily blocked by the opponent. What does this represent? Representing a human that can be as powerful as a tailed beast. At this moment, Yuzhibo Yun spoke. Have you finished playing? Now, it should be my turn. Whoosh! Sandai quickly put away the Rui stick and looked at Yuzhibo Yun with caution. The corner of Yuzhibo's mouth slightly curled up, and a seductive smile appeared that was enough to captivate countless young girls. But when Sandai saw this smile, he felt his monkey fur all over him upside down. At the next moment, Yuzhibo Yun raised his fist. What is he doing? It's Shindan. The old dark department's eyes lit up. The other dark parts suddenly looked at the old dark part. When he collapsed the house just now, wasn't it Shinduan? The old dark department shook his head and said, that can't be considered true Shinduan. It seems that Yuzhibo Yun is going to use true Shinduan. At this moment, Yuzhibo Yun took action, and everyone quickly stared at Yuzhibo Yun, afraid of missing any exciting scenes. I saw Yuzhibo Yun lifting his fist high above his head and pointing straight at the sky. The next second, a white light covered Yuzhibo Yun's fist, like a white ball of light. The light was shining brightly, and the strong light radiated in all directions. Yuzhibo Yun seems to have raised the sun with one hand. Zhen, blazing Sunday. When he was 16 years old, he used this technique to make the earth rot for dozens of miles. Shake and kill thousands of enemies. Through this, I also spread my reputation to the 5 major countries. Yuzhibo raised the sun in his hand and forcefully thrust his fist towards the ground. Boom! Under the scorching sun, apart from the intense tremors, cracks suddenly appeared and then crazily expanded, forming chasms on the ground. Chapter 3. Release Control. 3rd Generation. Damn it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the outskirts of my village, Zilai also stepped on the body of Toad Wentai, and in front of them were several giant snakes that had come out of teleportation. Although these giant snakes are not strong, it will take some time to solve them. Roaming and rumbling, a dull roar appeared behind the wooden leaves, and Zilai suddenly turned his head to look in the direction of the leaves. Xiao Zilai, you also feel it, right? It seems like there's an earthquake on the side of the wooden leaves. When Toad Wentai said these words, he couldn't help but feel a bit absurd. Mai has never had an earthquake before. Earthquakes. Upon hearing this word, Zilai couldn't help but think of a character who was active in the late Warring States period and the early stages of Nanamura. But soon, Zilai also shook his head with a smirk. That terrible person had already died, and even if he were alive, he was still an old man now. Fortunately, he died early, otherwise such a person might have turned the ninja world into something. Looking at the direction of the village, Zilai's worries lingered in his heart for a long time. I hope the old man can find a way to solve it. The scene shifts to Kiba, who is currently experiencing a huge earthquake. The earthquake radiated in all directions, centered around the strongest Chinese ninja exam venue. The civilians have now arrived at the shelter, and the streets are filled with ninjas fighting. The appearance of the earthquake once interrupted the rhythm of the battle. The most intense Chinese ninja exam venue in the earthquake can be summarized as an idiom, which is unbearable. The walls of the venue all collapsed, and countless smoke and dust rose up. Countless bottomless chasms appeared on the ground, like spider webs, fragmented and fragmented. And the ninjas who had just fought on the field, whether they were Kiba, Sakani, or Nin, all of them were covered below by the rubble of the ruins. For a moment, there were mournful swans everywhere. Bang! 2 giant stones were knocked away, and the figures of Kakashi and Kai jumped out of the ruins. What exactly happened? Kakashi looked towards the direction of the 4 purple flame formation. Kai also had a serious expression and said, "First, save all the companions in the village." The 2 began a rescue operation amidst the rubble. Within the 4 purple flame formation, Orochimaru looked at everything around him with a frightened expression. This move is really too powerful. Not only did it destroy the entire venue, but the attack even affected the entire Kiba village. At this moment, even Orochimaru himself doubted whether summoning Uchiha Yun was the right move. 3 generations walked out of the Vajra prison wall composed of apes and demons, feeling furious as they watched their village, which they had been running for many years, turn into this. He looked at Orochimaru with cracked eyes. Orochimaru. Look at what you've done. This is your hometown. Orochimaru snorted coldly, hometown. Hee, don't try to kidnap me with such boring geographical concepts. After speaking, his mind moved and he wanted to summon Yuzhibo Yun to continue attacking. At this moment, he discovered a shocking fact. His control over Uchiha Cloud has further weakened. What's going on? Orochimaru couldn't help but shout out. Yuzhibo Yun's figure slowly stood up from the violent ground. He patted the dust on his body and turned back to give Orochimaru a smile. Young man, using forbidden techniques comes at a cost. Has no one taught you this before? Orochimaru's face turned extremely ugly and he said, "Stop joking. I have tried this technique countless times. The error rate is infinitely close to 0. Yuzhibo Yun was too lazy to care about this person, and now he has further unlocked the limitations of his body. There is already some autonomy in action, but it is still not enough. If the young person wants to be reborn from the polluted land, he will still return to the pure land. We need to find a way to untangle the filth and reincarnate. Although Orochimaru has lost some control, he can still barely control Uchiha Cloud. He said with great interest, so, let's try the power of the kaleidoscope Sharingan. The next second, Yuzhibo Yun's eyes burst into a strange red light. On the blood-red pupils, 3 pitch-black jade particles spun rapidly and slowly gathered together, but could not transform into a kaleidoscope. Orochimaru let out a buzzing sound, but the sacrifice this time was still too poor, to even use a kaleidoscope. Outside the 4 purple flame formation, while the dark side was enjoying watching the play, a voice containing anger appeared from behind. What are you squatting here for? The dark side turned around and saw that the one who came was one of the current elders, Jitsuan Tuanzang. Master Tuanzang. Although the dark side belongs directly to the Hokage army, no matter what, Tuanzang is also a superior. Tuanzang pinched his cane and knocked the broken ground with a thud. As a member of Konoha. Why are you still idle here? Don't you know how to help the people in the village? A lot of internal slander in the dark, why can't we see your roots? But they dared not say anything, lowered their heads one after another, and then dispersed to bravely kill the enemy. Tuanzang walked up to the front of the 4 purple flame formation and looked at Yuzhibo Yun through the purple-red formation. Those red eyes make his blood constantly churn. If asked whose kaleidoscope Tuanzang most wants to obtain, he would definitely answer, Yuzhibo Yun. What a pair of beautiful eyes, like red agate gemstones. The greed in Tuanzang's eyes was undisguised, and Yuzhibo Yun naturally felt it. At the moment when he released his perception, Yuzhibo Yun's heart was shaken. This feeling is the breath of writing will eyes. Are you a member of the tribe? But upon closer inspection, Yuzhibo Yun's face became strange. The person not far away has the aura of writing will eyes on his body, but he doesn't have the feeling of Uchiha. In an instant, Yuzhibo Yun thought of a possibility. Thinking of this possibility, Yuzhibo Yun's face became gloomy, and in an instant, a cold and gloomy aura spread. He secretly exerted his strength and grabbed a slack moment from Orochimaru, then immediately turned his head to look at Tanzo. Tuanzang was originally enthusiastically observing the battle when he saw Yuzhibo Yun suddenly turn his head and look at him with a pair of blood-red lights staring straight at him. Not good. Tuanzang quickly wanted to shift his gaze, but he was surprised to find that his eyeballs couldn't move. Okay, damn it. Tuanzang spoke out the last few characters before losing consciousness, and then fell into the illusion of Sharingan. Orochimaru pinched his chin, thinking about how to torture his teacher. At this moment, a familiar figure appeared outside the 4 purple flame formation. Tuanzang. Orochimaru was slightly surprised. How could this greedy guy appear here? At this moment, Tuanzang looked at him. Orochimaru asked, what is this group hiding for? Shwa. Tuanzang quickly peeled off the bandage on his face, revealing a blood-red Sharingan. Right will eye illusion. The strong pupils infused into Orochimaru's consciousness, leaving only the words, finished, in Orochimaru's heart. Because for him, writing will eyes is completely restrained. In no time, Orochimaru was briefly controlled by the illusion, and Uchiha Yun also temporarily gained his free body. He quickly began to seal his hands. Reincarnation of dirty soil. Solution. The next second, the momentum on Yuzhibo Yun's body began to rise continuously, accompanied by a fierce white light. White light shone on the face of Sandai, and at this moment, there was only one word in his heart. Damn it. Chapter 4. Explode the 4 purple flame formation with one punch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, Orochimaru finally broke free from the illusion, and the moment he regained consciousness, he realized that, he has lost all control over Yuzhibo Yun. What? He lifted his head and stared fixedly at Yuzhibo Yun. The white light on his body slowly dissipated, and Yuzhibo Yun extended his arms. He could clearly feel the shackles inside his body slowly peeling off. Every time he peels off a little, the aura emanating from him increases by a layer. Finally, Orochimaru's control over him was completely unlocked by him. In an instant, a strong airflow surged towards the center of the Uchiha cloud. Kaka the earth lifted up a layer of dust, and the originally broken ground was once again destroyed, making a cracking sound. Yuzhibo Yun closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Free air. Orochimaru crazily imprinted, only to find that he could no longer establish a connection with Uchiha cloud like he did just now. It's over. Play it off. He quickly looked in the direction of Tuanzang, only to find that Tuanzang was also looking confused at the moment. In an instant, Orochimaru understood what had happened. Yuzhibo Yun used illusion to control Tuanzang, and then let Tuanzang use illusion to control him. What a serial plan. He didn't show any signs of decadence, instead a wave of excitement emerged from his eyes. Even if he failed, he had to admit it. Yuzhibo Yun's technique is very advanced and his intelligence is also very high. He was able to think of this move in such a short time and put it into action. Although there were some regrets, the smile on Orochimaru's face became even more abnormal. Okay, that's also good. Let's see how the windmill will blow when strong winds come. At the same time, Yuzhibo Yun's actions also aroused his desire for the Sharingan. Sasuke, you will eventually be mine. Thinking this way, Orochimaru twisted his tongue and licked his face back and forth. On the other hand, Tuanzang was a bit more mentally disabled than Orochimaru, and it took him a while to realize what was going on. His face turned red and white. For so many years, he had never been the only one to play with Yuzhibo. I didn't expect that this time, Yuzhibo had played with him. Knowing that he seemed to have caused a great disaster, Tuanzang left with a crutch clattering away. Yuzhibo Yun ignored Sandai and Orochimaru and others. He crossed his waist and looked around at the four purple flame formation, his eyes slightly narrowed. No matter how you look at it, this thing is really annoying. He extended his fist, and the next second, a strong white light burst out on Uchiha Yun's fist. Upon seeing this, Orochimaru and Sandai instantly remembered the scene just now, and their inner fear overflowed again. Both of them involuntarily stepped back. Upon seeing this, Yuzhibo sneered disdainfully and then walked to the front of Zen's formation. Buzz! A white light ball covered Uchiha Yun's fist, and a dazzling light shone on the shocked faces of Orochimaru and Sandai. Countless air currents and chakras formed threads, like planets revolving around stars, entwining and orbiting around the fist of Yuzhibo cloud. This white light looked several times more dazzling than what was under the control of Orochimaru just now. This scene not only stunned Orochimaru and the third generation, but also captivated Kakashi, Metki, and all the ninjas present. They couldn't help but put down their battles and turn their gaze to Uchiha Yun. Originally, Orochimaru, who was full of confidence in the hardness of the four purple flame formation, felt a genuine fear in his heart. I'm afraid the four purple flame formation really needs this punch. Yuzhibo looked up at the rich chakra on his fist, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. After all, he was now a reincarnated body from filth, and his strength was estimated to be only 1/5 of what he had before. At this moment, Yuzhibo Yun spoke up. For decades, the world may have forgotten my name, right? Yuzhibo Yun's tone was very calm, and the cold voice echoed in the ears of everyone on the field. There was silence around, and no one answered Uchiha Yun's words. However, Uchiha Yun didn't care if there was an answer. Now, it's time for the world to remember me, the name Shura. Zhen done. The scorching sun. Yuzhibo shouted loudly and pushed his arm out. The powerful light and power collided directly with the four purple flame formation. Buzz. Boom. The dazzling light bloomed like a fireworks on the four purple flame formation, and everyone present couldn't help but squint their eyes. A fierce roar echoed in their ears, and the ninjas on the field involuntarily covered their ears. With the blooming of light, the high four purple flame formation began to tremble, and the purple-red light flickered incessantly. The face of the four members in the formation changed greatly, and they continued to maintain chakra desperately, but the powerful vibration still transmitted to them. Puff. Finally, a voice couldn't bear it anymore, spat out a mouthful of blood, and then fell to the ground without waking up. As one of the practitioners lost consciousness, the four purple flame formation finally began to become unstable. Yuzhibo Yun roared loudly, and the power of his fist continued to flow forward. Boom! Wow! The four purple flame formation was directly destroyed by Yuzhibo Yun. The four purple flame formation eventually turned into countless flames and fragments that scattered, and hail plasma flames filled the entire field. The scorching red light enveloped the entire venue. From a distance, it seems as if a huge bomb has been ignited in the venue. As the four purple flame formation exploded, a group of ninjas in the venue felt a wave of heat coming. Everyone puts their arms in front of them and involuntarily closes their eyes. The intense red light, hot temperatures, and intense roars all make everyone feel that they seem to be in hell. Quickly, the red light gradually dissipated, and when everyone regained their sight, they only saw the four purple flame formation on the roof, which had disappeared without a trace. The four subordinates of Orochimaru vomited blood and unconsciously collapsed on the roof. Orochimaru was stunned. It was his first time seeing someone destroy the four purple flame formation, still using fists. The third generation stared blankly at everything around him, not even realizing it himself. His own breathing began to quicken. He couldn't help but think about what kind of pressure the first and second generations of seniors were facing when fighting against Uchiha Cloud. And now, he has to face this pressure alone. Even the ape demon let out a sigh. What a great power this is. It's simply beyond the reach of ordinary ninjas. Even when dealing with Nine Tails back then, the monkey demon did not have such a sense of fear. At this moment, the ninjas fighting in the village all coincidentally looked towards the exam venue. What exactly happened over there? Is it certain that such a loud noise can be brought about by normal combat? At this moment, Zilai was already convinced that something big had happened in the village and he could no longer waste time with a few giant snakes. He commanded Wen Tai to rush towards the village. A clear breeze blew through the exam venue, and Yuzhibo Yun stepped on a raised stone. The breeze blew his robe, making a hunting sound. He looked at everything around him, and a wave of enthusiasm gathered from his chest, then surged towards his throat. Ninja, your Shura has returned. Chapter 5. Young people nowadays are also very brave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yuzhibo Yun's thoughts began to come to life, although he didn't know how many years had passed since his death. He looked at the old appearance of the monkey-flying family boy. He could probably guess that it was now 50 or 60 years after his death. And from the aura of the Sharingan on the bandaged man just now, it can be seen that the Uchiha clan has not had a good time in the past few decades. Looking at Muye Yen in the distance, Yuzhibo Yun couldn't help but laugh out loud. At this moment, Orochimaru walked up. Yuzhibo Yun, a peerless powerhouse who was active from the late Warring States period to the early Nanamura period. Hello, my name is Orochimaru. Orochimaru tried to make her hoarse and gloomy voice polite, but it still sounded creepy. Yuzhibo Yun turned his head and his blood-red eyes flickered inexplicably. Is it you who controlled me? Orochimaru seemed to have no idea what fear was, and he said excitedly. Lord Yun, I also know some about your situation. Let's cooperate and work together, destroy the wooden leaves. At the end, Orochimaru's excited tone carried a hint of madness. As Sandai looked at Deshimaru's appearance, he felt a sense of sadness in his heart. When did his disciple become like this? After Orochimaru finished speaking, his eyes remained fixed on Uchiha Yun. However, Yuzhibo Yun did not answer, and the disdain and indifference in his eyes remained unchanged. The surrounding air quickly became quiet, and an emotion called awkwardness rose in the air. Just as the smile on Orochimaru's face was about to break. "Why do you think you are qualified to talk to me about cooperation?" Yuzhibo Yun turned to Orochimaru alone, holding his chest in a calm and unquestionable tone. Arrogant words. If it were someone else, Orochimaru Higashi would also teach him a lesson, but the other person is Uchiha Yun, who is known as the Ninja World Shura. Upon hearing these words, Orochimaru's eyelids trembled. How can I answer this? Yuzhibo Yun no longer looked at him and said, "For the sake of your summoning me, I won't pursue you for now. You can leave now." Orochimaru was momentarily taken aback, but the smile on his face did not diminish. Such a proud and arrogant person deserves the title of Shura. Orochimaru didn't leave and said, "But unfortunately, Yuzhibo Yun, I have my own principles. Since I have decided to destroy Konoha, there is no reason for me to withdraw." "Young people nowadays are also very brave," Yuzhibo said with a slight curl of his mouth. The next second, the figure of Yuzhibo Yun suddenly disappeared. Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and he quickly dodged his body. The next second, Yuzhibo Yun's body landed where Orochimaru had just stood, and a huge pit was stepped on the ground. Yuzhibo Yun was not idle, and his hands were simply imprinted. Foam done, vacuum jade. Whoosh! 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 The wind bomb made a whistling sound, cutting through the air and attacking Orochimaru. Orochimaru's eyes sparkled with excitement, and the wind bullet hit Orochimaru fiercely. Orochimaru used a snake double to dodge. Subsequently, he had a sudden thought and manipulated the first and second generations to rush towards Uchiha Cloud. At the same time, he looked at the three generations not far away and said, "Teacher Yunqie, Yuzhibo Yun is now free. You don't want him to seek revenge against you, do you?" Upon hearing Orochimaru's words, Sandai's face changed and then became gloomy. "It seems that you not only stole the secret technique back then, but also saw a lot of things you shouldn't have seen, Orochimaru." Chapter 6. Three Generations and Orochimaru United. Still weak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Orochimaru smiled and said, "If a secret is just hidden, it will definitely be discovered." Misconception. Third generation snorted coldly, but they also knew that Orochimaru's words were correct. If Yuzhibo Yun cannot be controlled, then after he escapes from Kiba, it will not only be of no benefit to Kiba, but also a disaster for the entire ninja world. The third generation picked up the Rui stick and said, "You'll cover me later." After speaking, he leaped forward and charged towards Yuzhibo Yun. Orochimaru smiled and said, "Are you fighting with Teacher Ape flying? It's really a bit nostalgic." As he spoke, he also drew his grass shaving sword and rushed forward. Yuzhibo Yun looked at the two incoming filthy reincarnations and felt somewhat disinterested. After all, he often fought with them decades ago. He has long been tired of playing, let alone the fact that the other party is still reincarnated from filth. Water escape. Water arrow. A few sharp water arrows flew out, making a piercing sound, and suddenly swept towards Yuzhibo Yun. Yuzhibo Yun tilted his head and danced his body, calmly dodging the water arrow. The first generation dressed in red armor, transformed into red meteors, suddenly attacked. Yuzhibo Yun also extended his fist. Bang! The two fists intersected, creating a wave of air, and both of their hair was blown away for a while. Yuzhibo's empty hand began to imprint, and soon, a wave of heat gathered in his throat. Fire escape. Long Yen sings. Flames condensed into dragon heads, spitting out from Yuzhibo Yun's mouth. Sandai and Orochimaru were a bit surprised, but they didn't expect Uchiha Yun to be able to seal with one hand. The first one exploded directly on the head of the first generation, the flames exploded, and a fluff flew up, causing the first generation to temporarily lose its combat effectiveness. The remaining fire dragons flew towards the second generation gate. The second generation simply tied a few seals. Water escape. Water formation wall. The water hose rose up and extinguished all the faucets, then the flood poured down and covered the Yuzhi wave cloud. Yuzhibo Yun was completely unafraid of this, and after finishing the printing, he covered his hands on the ground. Wind escape. Wind kill formation. A strong tornado suddenly appeared on the ground, carrying dust and various materials from the ruins, and then collided with the second generation water hose. Boom. Wow. In an instant, the turbulent airflow carried water droplets and swayed towards the surroundings, causing two tornadoes to burst out together and a brief rain to cover the surroundings. Shwa. The rain curtain was torn open, and Yuzhibo Yun rushed towards the second generation at an extremely fast speed. The second generation leaped into the air, hoping to use it to avoid Uchiha Yun. Yuzhibo Yun did not follow up, but clenched his fist. The next second, the white light composed of chakra gathered again on Yuzhibo Yun's fist. Chunduan, shockwave. Boom. Blowing out his fist, a white ball of light shook the surrounding space and hit the second generation in the air. Wow. A burst of air explosion, the second generation was blown up into a ball of flying catkins. How weak, whether it's in front of or behind the filthy soil, murmured Yuzhibo Yun. Suddenly, a wishful stick stretched out at an extremely fast speed. Yuzhibo Yun reached out his palm and caught it. At this moment, the Shimaru, holding his grass-shaving sword, rushed forward like a snake. Yuzhibo Yun continued to seal with one hand, and suddenly flames lit up on the ground, making it difficult for Orochimaru to move forward. Immediately after, Yuzhibo Yun tightly grasped the hand of the Rui stick and directly held one end of the stick in his hand. The third generation wanted to retrieve the Rui stick, but found that it couldn't be retrieved. Yuzhibo Yun's strength was too strong, so he grabbed the Rui stick directly. The monkey demon was furious and reached out his hand from the Rui stick, grabbing Yuzhibo Yun's neck. However, don't forget that the current Uchiha cloud has a free hand. I saw Yuzhibo Yun reaching out his hand and welcoming the monkey paw of the ape demon. The two hands grabbed each other, and Yuzhibo Yun didn't hesitate. With a strong force, he twisted his palms forward. Ga la. The chilling sound of rupture rang out, and only the monkey paw of the ape demon was twisted and broken by Yuzhibo Yun. Mori's bones protruded directly from the twisted wound. Ah. Chapter 7. The Legend of the Ninja Realm Shura. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Rui stick directly presented its prototype, and the monkey demon covered the broken and bloody wrist, emitting a painful cry. Sandai hurriedly shouted, "Monkey demon," and then rushed over. Yuzhibo Yun stomped into the chest of the ape demon and knocked him away. The third generation flew up and took down the monkey demon, saying, "Monkey demon. Are you okay?" Looking at the third generation, Yuzhibo Yun suddenly chuckled lightly. "Son of the monkey flying family, I just heard from your person that you are the strongest Hokage, really." Upon hearing these words, Sandai's face turned red and white, whether angry or embarrassed. He looked at the monkey demon with heartache, and then turned to Yuzhibo Yun. "Lord Yuzhibo Yun. You should know that you are already a deceased person now, and you should not interfere in the affairs of our descendants." Upon hearing these words from the third generation, Yuzhibo Yun's gaze suddenly changed. "Do you mean that once a person dies, everything can end?" The third generation remained silent, obviously knowing something. Yuzhibo Yun's gaze was like a sharp sword, piercing the hearts of 3 generations. "Don't forget, whose blood is stained on this land. Even though I have been dead for decades, I have never forgotten what you, Konoha, and the other 4 great powers have done." Sandai didn't know what to say, so he had to say to the monkey demon, "Monkey demon, you go back first. Now that the ape demon is seriously injured, there is nothing more to do. The ape demon transforms into a cloud of white smoke and disappears. Yuzhibo Yun continued to speak. Now, it's time to repay the debt. Buzz. As soon as the words fell, a white ball of light appeared in Yuzhibo Yun's hand. Zhen done, blazing Sunday. A continuous stream of airflow surrounded the white light ball. Just as Yuzhibo Yun was about to come forward and throw a punch, his blood-red eyes suddenly turned, and the direction of the punch suddenly turned. Boom! A huge roar sounded, like a thunderbolt falling from the ear. The strong airflow spread out in all directions, and both the third generation and Orochimaru couldn't help but block their arms in front. When he saw the newcomer clearly, the third generation finally showed a smile. "Zelaya, you kid, you came too slowly." The smile on Orochimaru's face disappeared. "Zelaya, it's this annoying guy again." The large jade spiral pill in Zelaya's hand shone brightly, and he was somewhat shocked in his heart. He thought that with a large jade spiral pill, the other party would have to hesitate no matter what they said. As a result, the other party not only did not retreat, but also used inexplicable techniques to forcefully resist. Who? The two attacks dissipated, and Yuzhibo Yun remained motionless. Zilai also leaped backwards and jumped to Sandai's side. He looked at Orochimaru and said cautiously. "Orochimaru, what's going on with this person?" Orochimaru chuckled and said, "Your knowledge base is still as low as before. Can't you recognize that person?" Zilai also looked carefully at Yuzhibo Yun and said, "Yuzhibo. But isn't Yuzhibo already extinct? Who is this guy?" The third generation said in a muffled voice, "That person is the legendary ninja Realm Shura, Yuzhibo Yun." What? Zilai's pupils shrank. Just now when he was trying to connect with the spirit snake, his mind twitched and he didn't expect the idea to come true now. Soon, his expression became solemn. In this way, it will be troublesome. The deeds of Yuzhibo Yun are well known to experts like him. Chapter 8. Need to assist. Black Aura. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yuzhibo Yun said somewhat bored, "Have you finished speaking? Let's go up together now. I'm still rushing to destroy the wooden leaves." Listening to Yuzhibo Yun's extremely arrogant words, none of the three dared to underestimate them. Zilai was also the first to take action, biting through his fingers and using the technique of teleportation. Bang! A huge white smoke rose up, and a social toad dressed in a short fight and smoking a pipe appeared on the shattered earth. "Since then, you have done a lot of things." Before roast, Toad One was frightened by everything around. "I saw the bustling wooden leaves on weekdays, and at this moment, the ground was covered with cracks. The houses collapsed and flames spread everywhere, like hell on earth." Toad Wentai's eyes also focused on Yuzhibo Yun, but there was no way. The momentum on Yuzhibo Yun's body was too strong, and he couldn't help but pay attention. "Is it a toad from Yamu Mountain?" "It's one of the three immortal places, which is a bit interesting." Yuzhibo Yun looked up at the huge figure of Toad Wentai and commented. "Since you're using a big guy, I can't lose the battle anymore," said Yuzhibo Yun, his eyes glowing red. For a moment, a cold and evil aura emanated like waves. Amidst the horrified gazes of the crowd, a layer of black light flickered on Yuzhibo Yun's body. "Writing will I secret technique. Must be assisted." A rich chakra erupted, layers of skeletons and bones constantly appearing and stacking around the Uchiha cloud. Toad One took 2 steps back, and a drop of sweat was secreted from its forehead. "This suppressed breath, it's still the first time I've seen it," Toad One said, then pretended to be calm and took a puff of smoke. Quickly, the first form of Susanenhu was completed, with a ferocious white skeleton surrounding the Uchiha cloud. A layer of black light outside added a lot of evil energy to it. However, this is still far from enough. Yuzhibo Yun continues to transmit chakra, and his momentum continues to rise. Suzwanenhu. Second form. Yuzhibo Yun's eyes lit up with red light. In the next second, it seemed that Susanoo, who had only a skeleton, had come back to life, covered with meridians and flesh on top of the skeleton. The pitch-black chakra wrapped Susa like a coat, even increasing his height. Feeling the increasing power and pressure of Susa, Orochimaru couldn't help but swallow his saliva. At this moment, his desire for Sharingan was higher than ever before. Toadwin didn't know how many other forms of Suzwenenghu had, but it knew that it couldn't let Yuzhibo Yun continue like this anymore. Shwa! Toadwin pulled out his short knife too abruptly, and with a sharp blade light, he rushed towards Yuzhibo Yun. Toad's short cut. Boom! Suzwenenghu extended his palm and directly caught Toadwintai's short knife. Toadwin wanted to pull out the short knife too much, but found that he couldn't do it at all. What? The toad text increased its strength too much, but the short knife seemed to be embedded in some hard object. Even if it increased its strength, the short knife remained motionless. Yuzhibo Yun's face remained calm as he manipulated Susa to raise another fist and hit him straight. Bang! The fist, emitting black light, hit the abdomen of Toadwintai straight. Ah! Toadwintai let out a mournful cry, and his fins took a few steps back. Yuzhibo Yun controlled Susanenghu and gripped Toadwintai's short sword in his hand, transforming it into his own weapon. Wentai. Zilai couldn't sit still and condensed a large jade spiral pill, which bombarded Suzwenenghu's body. The third generation also rushed over while printing. Fire escape. Fire dragon flame bullet. A fiery dragon flapping its teeth and claws flew out. Orochimaru's eyes flickered with curiosity as he said, "Let me see your limits, Uchiha Yun." He then used his telepathic technique again. 3 giant snakes appeared on the battlefield, entwined around their bodies, opened their blood plates and devoured toward Susanoo. Chapter 9. Come out. Cong Yunqie. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Faced with a massive onslaught, Yuzhibo Yun's face remained incredibly calm from beginning to end. It seems like this is not a ninjutsu attack, but a child's playfulness. Roar! 2 giant snakes meandered their bodies, directly wrapping around Uchiha Susanenghu. A giant snake opened its blood plate and devoured Susanenghu's hand, wanting to bite off the short knife held by Susa. Susa reached out his giant hand and grabbed the neck of the giant snake with one hand. Then, with the other hand, he lifted his short knife and cut the snake in half. Boom! Third brother's fiery dragon shell came with a loud roar, igniting a burst of flames and smoke on Susa's body. But this kind of attack effect is still insufficient, not even a crack has been made on Susa's body. However, at this moment, the great jade spiral Maru from Zilai also came one after another, bombarding Susanenghu's chest. However, relying solely on this, we were still unable to penetrate Susanoo's defense. Damn it, this defense is too strong. Zilai also frowned, somewhat incredulous. At this point, Orochimaru began to popularize science. This is Suzwenenghu, who had the title of Divine Power during the Warring States period and was an excellent representative of integrated attack and defense. How could your spiral pill be useful? While popularizing science, Orochimaru did not forget to carry a gun and a stick. You're still as superior as ever. Zilai glanced at me with displeasure. Are you two still children? Focus on dealing with the situation in front of you, said Sandai, panting heavily. He was already overdrawn today. First, he had a big battle with Orochimaru and the second generation of the first generation, Ashikaga, and then Uchiha. The psychic beast ape demon was even broken by Yuzhibo Yun's hand bone. Now his combat effectiveness has greatly weakened. It seems that I'm going to use magic. Zilai murmured as well. Upon hearing the words, magic, Orochimaru looked up slightly, with a look of envy in his eyes. At this moment, Kakashi and Might Kai, who had finished rescuing the people, finally arrived. They fell beside the third generation and looked at Yuzhibo Yun with caution. Third generation adults. We're late to rescue you. Sandai waved his hand and said, "It's okay, Yuzhibo Yun was a strong warrior during the Warring States period. You should be careful." Might Kai and Kakashi looked at Yuzhibo Yun, looking at the tall Susanoo, and their hearts were more or less shocked. I thought Yuzhibo Yun's punch would explode the four purple flame formation, which was already shocking enough, but I didn't expect to bring out a giant. Yuzhibo Yun felt the strength of Kakashi and Metki, and couldn't help but feel a little annoyed, saying, "Ah, there are so many annoying guys again." At this moment, the mushroom head in front of me suddenly disappeared. Yuzhibo Yun looked to the right, and at this moment, a green light had already appeared on Might Kai's body, approaching Susanoo at an extremely fast speed. Although he was able to react, Susanoo's reaction speed was still a bit slow. Bang! Might Kai kicked heavily on Susanoo. A gust of strong wind stirred up, and the tremendous power even transmitted to Uchiha Yun. Oh! Yuzhibo Yun showed an interested look. This strength is interesting. Who? Susanoo waved his arm, causing the air to tear apart and emit a whistling sound. However, Might Kai's figure disappeared again and came behind Susanoo. Facing the peacock. Might Kai quickly punched with both hands, striking fiercely and swiftly, causing intense friction in the air and generating flames. Countless fists wrapped in flames, hitting Susa like raindrops. Bang! 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 Yuzhibo Yun was in the midst of Susa, and he could clearly feel a strong shock constantly coming. Ka-la, a crisp sound sounded, and a crack appeared on one of the ribs on Susanoo. Metki's congested face revealed a ferocious smile. Well done. Zilai also lifted his arms and shouted, as if the crack was made by him. Orochimaru was surprised by Metki's strength. Can someone he had always overlooked be able to unleash such power? The third generation showed a pleased smile, so it seems that this Yuzhibo Yun is not as terrifying as rumored. Might Kai accelerated the speed of waving his fist, and soon the cracks on Susa grew larger and larger. Eat me, punch me. With the final punch, Metki lifted it high and then made a strong thrust. Boom! Click it! White bone fragments splattered out, and Yuzhibo Yun's beard was shattered. It's done. Metki's forehead secreted a layer of sweat, but his face was filled with excitement. What we need to do now is to lift the head of this Uzhibo cloud and wait for the arrival of the sealing team. Just as Metki was imagining the future. The voice of Yuzhibo Yun appeared, pulling him back to reality. You're quite capable, you can actually break my beard. Might Kai looked up and his face looked a bit confused. Because he noticed that Yuzhibo Yun's expression was very calm, as if he was not worried about it at all. A hint of doubt arose in Might Kai's heart. Why is this Yuzhibo Yun not afraid? Soon, in the following scene, his doubts were answered. Yuzhibo Yun continued to speak. You are very powerful, able to break my second form of Susanoo. So next. Are you ready to endure the third form, the third form? Metki's eyes trembled incessantly, forgetting to attack for a moment. Yuzhibo Yun didn't speak, and the chakra inside his body leaped up again. Suzwa Ninghu. Third form. Boom. Accompanied by a thunderous roar, a black giant that was no different from before rose from the ground. But unlike just now, it has extra feet, which has increased its height, almost on par with Toad One. Might Kai took 2 steps back with his feet, and his head lifted up with the constantly rising beard. At this moment, the clear voice of Yuzhibo Yun came from the sky. It's your honor to allow me to use the third form. This sentence is extremely arrogant, but when everyone present listened, no one felt that Uchiha Yun was arrogant. This towering giant has already worn away most of their fighting spirit. Sandai's already weak body half knelt down, and his heart was plunged into infinite confusion. Is this kind of enemy really just a rebirth of filth? Really, only 1/5 of the strength. After a moment of confusion, Muye knew he couldn't sit idly by, gritted his teeth, and continued to charge forward. This time, his speed is even faster than just now. He transformed into a green silhouette, appearing and disappearing, occasionally punching Susa. Bang! 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 Full of strength and speed, but unfortunately did not cause any damage to Susa. The defense of the third form requires the assistance of Ninghu, far exceeding that of the second form, and Muye cannot break through the defense at all. Moreover, to outsiders, Kai's speed is already as fast as a shadow, but in the eyes of Yuzhibo Yun's riding wheel, Kai's trace is clearly visible. Not bad speed, but no matter how excellent the speed is, you can't escape these eyes. Speaking, Uchiha Yun controlled Susa to extend his hands. Everyone's eyes flickered, unsure of what Yuzhibo Yun was up to. Shwa! Two giant hands clenched fiercely, as if grabbing the air, and then their arms pulled fiercely to both sides. A black, long and thick guan dao appeared in the hands of Uzhibo Yun. Come out. Cong Yunqie. Chapter 10. Conquer the Tailed Beast. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Cong Yun cut into the mortal world, and a strong evil energy was released, causing everyone's hearts and minds to shake for a moment. Yuzhibo Yun controlled Susa Ninghu, tightly gripping Cong Yunqie with both hands and swinging fiercely towards Muye. Boom! The fierce slash almost tore the air apart, and a crescent-like blade of light surged towards Muye. Watching the fierce attack of the knife light, Muye felt his blood flowing rapidly all over his body. Shwa! Muye's figure flashed, and he managed to dodge this slash. But he only dodged a fatal blow, and the remaining sword energy still scraped against Muye's waist. A blood line surged in mid-air, and Kai covered the huge wound on his waist, retreating in succession. He was very frightened in his heart. If he slowed down a bit, he would have turned into a ghost under the sword of Yuzhibo Yun. It seems that opening only 6 doors is far from enough. Kai covered his wound and pondered on what to do next. On the other hand, although Yuzhibo Yun dealt a heavy blow to his opponent with one sword, he did not feel much joy in his heart. Because he knew that if it was his heyday, the just one sword could directly kill the enemy. Instead of just inflicting heavy damage on the other party as it is now. From this perspective, the body of the reincarnation of the filthy earth is still too weak. Even if it is free from the control of Orochimaru, it has not yet freed itself from the shackles of the technique of reincarnation of the filthy earth. At this moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Tail beast. Yes, if there were tailed beasts to assist, my battles wouldn't be so difficult. Although Yuzhibo Yun is confident that he can kill everyone on the other side. But he couldn't flash them like he did before his death. If he drags them on, when the other party's reinforcements arrive, it will definitely be another quagmire. Although Yuzhibo Yun is not afraid, he does not like trouble. He began to ponder. If I remember correctly, there is only one tailed beast in the wood leaf, which is 9-tailed. Now he is in Kiba, theoretically speaking, 9 tails is not far from him. Before his death, Yuzhibo Yun also signed a spiritual contract with each of the 9-tailed beasts. Therefore, as long as he uses some method to sense, he can roughly know the position of the tail beast. Thinking this way, Yuzhibo Yun closed his eyes and felt it quietly in his heart. Quickly, he sensed that 2-tailed beasts were closest to him at this moment. They are 1 tail and 9 tails respectively. Since that's the case, let's just grab both of them together and get it done. Since he is reborn, he must complete the unfinished business before his death, which is, unify the ninja realm. A necessary condition for unifying the ninja realm is to capture all 9-tailed beasts. With this in mind, Yuzhibo Yun thought of when he first established the wooden leaf. He watched the waist in a 1,000-hand pillar separate the 9-tailed beasts. And precisely because of this, in an accidental event, Uchiha Yun's sister Uchiha Cong was surrounded and killed by ninjas from various countries. When Yuzhibo Yun arrived, his sister was already seriously injured and dying. This time, he will definitely hold all 9-tailed beasts in his hands. Avenge my sister and unify the entire ninja world. Bring true peace to the ninja world. Glancing around the crowd. Amidst the surprised gazes of the crowd, Yuzhibo Yun untied Susanoo. The toad's short knife lost control and fell from the air, smashing a large hole in the ground. Before everyone could react, the figure of Yuzhibo Yun disappeared in an instant. Let's go, let's go. Everyone was still in a state of confusion, completely unaware that Uchiha Yun would suddenly disappear. Kakashi rushed forward first and helped Muye, who was seriously injured. The third generation also breathed heavily with relief. Zilai also showed a solemn expression. No, I don't think that Yuzhibo Yun has left. However, at this moment, Toad Yunqie suddenly said. Zilaya, I feel the call, it seems like Naruto. Before the words could be finished, it turned into a white smoke and disappeared. Zilai furrowed his brows, and Naruto had actually teleported Toad Yunqie away. It must be something that happened. At this moment, Kakashi spoke up and said, just now, I sent Naruto and his team to chase after a human named Julie. I think we must have encountered a problem now. One tail. It seems Naruto is in trouble now. Zilai also asked Kakashi about Naruto's location and was about to rush over. Kakashi and Muye also applied to join, and after resting for a while, the third generation also decided to go. Naruto is the ultimate weapon in the village, so there shouldn't be any mistakes. Orochimaru rubbed his chin and said, it seems things have become boring. I'm leaving. Sandai's eyes flickered and he said, Orochimaru. You caused all of this. You should come over to redeem yourself. Orochimaru chuckled and said, Teacher Monkey Flying, you're old and confused. The word atonement won't appear in my script. As he waved his hand, Orochimaru said. Whoosh. Two figures flashed over. The first and second generation, who were under control, came to Orochimaru's side. Orochimaru raised his head slightly and said, Do you dare to stop me? The expression of the third generation suddenly turned black. The first and second generations were reincarnated from the filthy soil, and their strength was not weak. If they insisted on keeping Orochimaru, they would definitely have to pay a considerable price. The most important thing now is to protect Naruto's safety. So, everyone had to stare straight at Orochimaru's departure until he disappeared. Anyway, hurry up and catch that Yuzhibo Yun, otherwise, when he finds out about that, said Sandai without saying a word. Everyone also remained silent in perfect agreement. After Muye briefly treated the wound, they set off for the place where Naruto was located. On the other hand, Naruto summoned Toad Bunata. Toad Boss. Beat up the sand-covered monster in front of you. Toad Yun looked up and saw that it was one of the 9-tailed beasts. It instantly blushed and said, Troubles are really one after another. Naruto lowered his head and said, Toad Boss, your expression seems to be a bit off. Toad Yunqie wouldn't tell him that he was just punched by Yuzhibo Yun with a beard, and it had to deal with it perfunctorily with a few words. Yuzhibo Yun's speed was very fast and he quickly reached the edge of the battlefield. Looking at the towering Shoha and Naruto standing on top of Toad Yunqie, he was just about to take action. The scent of the tribe. Yuzhibo Yun followed his feelings and walked through a forest, seeing Yuzhibo Sasuke, who was covered in scars and half kneeling on the ground. The Uchiha family pattern on the back of Sasuke's clothes is very eye-catching. Step on it. Upon hearing someone behind him, Sasuke quickly withdrew his frustration. What a slow response. In the Warring States period, you were already dead. A cold voice sounded, and Sasuke felt a sense of disagreement in his heart. He was about to say something when his eyes glanced at Uchiha Yun's face. In an instant, he was completely stunned. Yuzhibo Yun also noticed something was wrong. Why is the expression on this tribe member so shocking? Does this child recognize me? If he knew him, it shouldn't be that kind of expression. Sasuke's expression was very strange, shocked, puzzled, sad, and varied. Right will eyes. Sasuke held back a sentence for a while. Upon hearing Sasuke's words, Yuzhibo Yun's unease grew even stronger. Writing will eyes is very rare. Nonsense. Of course it's rare, there are only 2 Uchiha people left in the entire ninja realm. Are you saying it's rare? Sasuke clenched his hands tightly and said, "Who the hell are you?" Pop clash. Sasuke felt a darkness before his eyes, and the bitterness in his hand flew out. At the same time, his hand was also caught by the other party. So fast. He couldn't even react. Yuzhibo Yun grabbed Sasuke's collar and brought his head closer. "Can you answer my question first? Is it unusual to write will eyes?"